Hi, today we're talking about the forms book. This is a very important aspect of the voting process. So the very first thing on our forms book is it is going to list you the quantity of how many are in your forms book, the name of it, and then the form number. All forms will stay inside this forms book throughout the entire day, and you will return the book completely intact. So the very first thing we're going to talk about is the PRE1, which is the oath of your poll workers. And if you're anything like me, to make things go a little bit smoother, I love my little tabs. This can be with Post-it notes, anything you want to use, but it does make it easier for finding your actual forms. So again, going back to the oath. This is going to be where we swear in all of our poll workers, the inspector, the judges, and the clerks. Also, if you have to replace anyone throughout the day, you will come back and do a new oath for your replacement worker. After that, we have the ballot agreement. The ballot agreement states that our voting machine matches our sample ballot and that everything is exactly the same. After that, we have the electronic poll book. It's a certification showing that when we opened the poll books, there was no one registered on there. Up here at the top, next page, it'll say what time we opened and closed our voting machine in our polling place. So at 6 a.m. we should be opening, and at 6 p.m. we should be closing. Down here in step 6, this is where everybody always makes this mistake. This is asking you how many people are in line at 6 a.m., 12:30, and 6 p.m. That is just a quick little number, 3 people in line. What I always get is 57, 75. That's how many people have voted. This one here, just how many people are in line, small numbers. Okay, so the next form we're going to come about is the PRE3. That is an affidavit of assistance. A voter can have anyone they wish assist them. It cannot be a union member, their employer, or a member of their union. Next is the PRE3, which is an affidavit of assistance. A voter can bring in someone of their choice to assist them. That can be anyone other than their employer or a member or an agent of their union. So they can bring in their child, spouse, parent, friend, whomever, but that voter must have themselves and the assister sign this in advance. Now, if they want someone, they didn't bring someone, then they can have both judges assist them, and then both judges will sign off that they assisted the voter. This is to be done prior to the entry into the voting machine. Okay. Next is the PRE5. This is a replacement. If a voter comes in and on your iPad it shows that they've already received an absentee ballot and the voter says, I never received it. If that's the case, they are going to fill out the PRE5 and that replaces their absentee ballot and they would be entitled to vote on the voting machine. Now, if a voter brings in their forfeited ballot, you can accept it. They don't need to fill out the form. It is only if they are not bringing one in with them. Never received it. PRE5. The PRE8 is a replacement worker. Sometimes throughout the day you may have to disqualify a poll worker, or 2, there may be an emergency and your poll worker has to leave. Reasons why we would have to reject someone would be maybe as they're taking their oath of office they realize I am related to a candidate and cannot serve. So if that's the case, we will ask the first available voter if they would like to serve, and if they are qualified, they will fill out the replacement form. Now, once they do this, make sure you go back to your oath, have them sign the oath, and then also update the pay claim. And on the pay claim, you will prorate their pay, so you're just going to put in the time they got there, and we'll take it from there. The ABS, the PRE9. This is if a voter is in the voting machine and they accidentally walk away without hitting the cast vote. Your first thing is going to call that voter back and say, excuse me, can you come back and just hit your cast vote on the voting machine? If by chance they got away before you were able to catch them, then both of the judges will go inside the voting machine and hit the cast vote button for the voter. Do not touch any other buttons. You will just hit the cast vote button. And then this form will be filled out showing that you did that. Okay, moving on. PRE10 is for if you were to use emergency ballots. Emergency ballots are only used in the event of total machine failure. If you have 4 voting machines and 1 goes down, you keep using the other 3. Now, if you had 4 and there was a major power outage and you couldn't use any of the voting machine, then you're going to go to the emergencies. You will fill out this form. Once you fill out this form, on the front of your number 1 envelope, you will also check the box saying we used emergency ballots. Be sure to call the election board prior to using them for us to give you an update on it and authorize it for you. Okay. Pre-16. This is mandatory. And so what this form is going to do is at the end of the day, you are going to match up how many votes you had on your voting machine and how many people signed in on your iPad. And on the back of the form here, there's like a little schedule. So you can put in all your voting machines, your iPads and so forth and add them up. Now, it's also going to ask you if there were any differences. Maybe I had 151 people sign in, but I had 152 on the voting machine. I'm off by 1. Why is that? It could be that we couldn't find a name in the poll pad. And if that's the case, you're going to write it in over here what the discrepancy was. They found a voter, we had comboed them up, and that's why they went in our poll pad. Sometimes it could be one of the other forms we're going to hit, which is I'm going to get to in a second. Sometimes a voter was in line, signed in, had an emergency, and had to leave. If that's the case, document it so we know why you are off in your count. Very, very important. And if you keep up with this throughout the day, you won't have any problems because you'll always know what that issue was where there was an anomaly. Okay. The next one is the PRE 18. That is, guess what? You don't need it because it's for a municipal election. We just threw it in accidentally, so don't worry about that one. Okay, PRE 19. This is another spot where we could have that anomaly. So the only people that are allowed to leave and come back to your polling place, like once they signed in, are public safety officers, firemen, policemen, first responders. If all of a sudden they're in line waiting to use the voting machine and they get a call and they have to get dispatched, they have to take off and go save someone maybe. So in that case, you're going to document that those voters, first responders, are eligible to come back and then cast their vote. So they're the only ones, but you need to fill this out so you know who left and again, why your numbers are off. Next is the VRG 412, and this is going to be probably one of your most used forms. This is for when a voter signs in on the poll pad and you ask them to confirm their address and they go, oops, I'm no longer at that address. You're going to pull out this form. This is used if someone moves within Indiana within 30 days before the election. It's also used if someone moves regardless of time, still within Lake County and the congressional district. It's also used if someone got canceled from their voter registration record, but they're still at the same address. They will fill out this form and then they're eligible to vote on the voting machine. Now the thing here is they're going back to their original precinct where they were registered to vote. Next is the VRG 11. A voter comes in, says, I registered to vote, and my name is not in the poll list. And we can't find them here at the government center. You call us up and we still can't find them. We want to make sure that they're set and ready for the next election, so we're going to have them fill out the VRG 11. In some cases, they may be doing a provisional ballot also, and that'll come into another section that we're going to talk about that on, though. Okay, next thing. Next is the VRG 14, and this is a request to cancel. Every now and then we'll get a parent or family member that comes in and says, my son or daughter keeps getting mail about the voting, but they haven't lived here in 5 years or so. They've moved away to another state. Offer to give them one of these forms and they can take it home, get it to their son or daughter, and then we will gladly cancel them off our records. And last but not least is the VRG 15, and this is a presidential only voting. So this is if someone moved, formerly resided in Indiana, lost their residency less than 30 days before the presidential election, normally qualified to vote. So if they moved within 30 days before the election, out of state, and they want to come back, they get to vote for president only. Now, on the voting machine, there is no presidential only ballot, so you will give them a provisional ballot and they will vote in just the presidential race. And that's the end of our forms book. Remember to keep everything completely intact. If you have any questions or concerns, give us a call.